So this is very different for me. It's probably the first time I ever did a group like this, a group that I don't know that's online. I've done groups like this in person, but I haven't done one online. Although I have been teaching on Zoom for almost 10 years now. So I'm not used to the people popping in and popping out, and there's Lynn coming back. So did you want to say something, Lynn, before I jump in anymore?
Yes, just welcome to everybody, and
Mm.
we're so pleased to have Ruth with us this morning. And we just met in New York for a little bit, and that was really wonderful. So welcome, welcome. And I don't know why my computer is acting up, but I think it's fine now. Okay, Ruth.
All right. So hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hi. Whoever said hello, maybe June, thank you. Appreciate it. So for those that don't know me, I'm just going to say a tiny bit about myself, but mostly I'd like this time to be experiential, really for all of us. So I include me in the group, but for each of you, those who know focusing, those who might be newer to focusing, to maybe revisit some of the basics, revisit yourself freshly at the beginning of this new year. So I guess you got the announcement, which probably says that I live in Jerusalem, so I'll put that out. I tend to feel a little funny when I speak to groups of not knowing where you all are, but I'm guessing that most of you are in North America, so we're in a different time zone, different culture. And we share something really important, which is we all most likely love this work, or there's something that has drawn you to Lynn's groups, which we have that in common. So many years ago, when I was finishing up my master's degrees, I got a degree in social work and a degree in public health from UC Berkeley obviously in California in the 80s. I just have to remember 1986 and 1987. The work that I had wanted to do was to combine mind, body, spirit kind of work and working with people. Somehow the work that I had in mind is not what social workers in California were doing at the time. So I went to the career counseling center at UC Berkeley and had an exercise that we were to do. We were supposed to go home and look in a mirror. And I don't remember what the prompt was, but I do remember what came for me. And it still it still fuels me today. It's still real for me. So I just wanted to share that. Just I looked in the mirror, and what came for me is my work is to look deeply within and help others to do the same. And that was years before I knew what focusing was, but it still feels like what's important to me. And along the way, healing and growth got added to that formula, but it's really about looking inside and being with what's there. And since then, I've learned that, and that to me is where freedom lies. That's where growth is. That's where healing is, when we can really be with what's there for us. I think everybody in this group is a helper of some sort, a therapist or a coach. So you do this for your clients, you help them to be with what's true. And I think this group, this Monday morning group, is for each of us to be able to do the same thing, to be inspired, to be nurtured, to be supported in being with what's there for us, whatever it might be. And my own experience in working with therapists, and I've trained quite a few therapists and coaches in focusing, is that there can often be something that might get in the way of us being able to really be with what's there. And I don't want to, that's not what I want to talk about. I just really want to open a space here of whatever comes is okay. Whatever anybody wants to share is okay. Whatever anybody does not want to share is totally okay. It's really a space of just to notice what's there for you. Judgment, wanting, not wanting, all of it. Okay. So let's see, I have all these notes of what I was going to share with you. Maybe just a little bit of my background so that you can understand that too. Which is, I first learned yoga when I was 16 years old from a book. It took me over a decade to go to my first class. I still do yoga 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I missed a day because I was on the plane and then I came home and I was too tired. But I generally do not miss a day because it along with focusing aligns me, helps to center me. So my daily practice is I get up, I do yoga, I write, I do focusing oriented writing in my journal every morning, and then I'm ready for the day. Usually pretty soon afterwards, a long walk comes, or I fit that in whenever I can, because that also helps to connect me. I am certified as a yoga trainer. That was back in '83. And then for a while after I got my master's degrees, I went into massage therapy because, as I mentioned, the social work didn't work out for me as a job, as a career. So I became a massage therapist. And then I studied acupressure and Chinese medicine and emotional balancing with acupressure. And then I learned about focusing in 1993, 94, trained with Ann Weiser Cornell, and then with Eugene Gendlin and Janet Klein and Mary McGuire, which was a wonderful experience in 1995 in Chicago. I've been teaching focusing ever since. I love teaching focusing. I love being present and facilitating a process for people of tuning into themselves and learning more about themselves. Like this light, you can almost see a light go off in people when they're connecting with something. And to me, we're connecting with our life energy. And it's there's this amazing, focusing is such an amazing process of helping us to be more alive, more vital, and just simply by listening. All right. So I'd like to actually start with attunement. Now that I've said all of that, just for everybody to do a little bit of focusing, and then I'll do a bit more sharing. We'll kind of go back and forth. But before I do that, does anybody have anything they might like to say at this time? Okay. So I'd like to invite you all just to notice if you're comfortable where you're sitting. And if you have glasses on, you can notice if you might feel more comfortable taking them off. This will just be for a couple minutes. And those of you who don't have your picture on, I want you to do whatever's comfortable, but I also want to make a special invitation that if you feel like it might be okay to turn your camera on, maybe to help you be more centered in this attunement, you're welcome to do that. And if not, it's okay too. So maybe just noticing if it would be okay to allow your eyes to close. And I also want to say sometimes people are more comfortable focusing with their eyes open. That's okay too. It's just whatever helps you to be more centered. And then maybe just noticing if it might be okay to take a few deep breaths. Like really allowing yourself to inhale deeply and to exhale completely. Maybe even noticing if it might feel right with the next few exhalations. To just imagine you could exhale out whatever it took to get you to this group this morning or this afternoon, depending on where you are. Maybe there was rushing around. Maybe in their mind, there's awareness of what's going to come next. And just notice how it might be to almost imagine you could exhale out all of that right now. Almost as though with the exhalation, you're not getting rid of anything, but you're allowing there to be a little bit more space. Like a little more space for whatever might want to come in this time to be able to come. And then very gently, just imagine you could bring your awareness into that whole middle part of your being. And the part of your being that includes your throat, your chest, your stomach and abdomen. And then maybe just asking inside, how am I in this moment? And just notice what comes. There might be a physical sensation. Maybe words, maybe an emotional quality. And then just acknowledging whatever you're aware of. As though you could say inside, yeah, that's what's there. And then just noticing if it might be okay to widen your inner vision a little bit. Almost as though you could open the space and be curious. Like, what more is there? Oftentimes, when we ask ourselves, how am I? There might be a usual answer or a set of usual answers. And oftentimes, just to the outside of that or just beneath that, there could be some really different answers. And just keeping in mind, because there's something maybe that's different, it doesn't negate the first one. We're these amazing, complex beings that have space for many different feelings, different aspects. And you might even want to notice if it would be okay just to welcome whatever's there. Maybe there's a place that is a little anxious or a lot anxious, and there's another one right next to it that's excited. One part might want to put the foot on the brake, and the other part might want to put its foot on the gas. And so what we aspire for is to just say, oh, that's there. Isn't that interesting? And that's there. You might even want to notice if it would feel right to ask inside, what's wanted? If you had more than one place, you could just sense which one it feels right to ask that question of. What might it want from you? Remembering that it doesn't matter what is possible in this moment. We really want to allow our insides to be able to let us know what they want, to make space for the wanting, to respect and care for each place that shows up. So, in a short time here, looking at the time, a few more moments, we'll come back to the shared space, but just maybe noticing what more might like to come before we do that. And then maybe just thanking your insides for what they've shown you in this time. And when you're ready, just very gently, first bringing your awareness back to the room that's around you. And then gently opening your eyes. So I'm just curious, somebody in this group had an experience that surprised them or that baffled them? might like to share. Or maybe there's a question about the process. Anybody?
I had the experience that there were two different parts of myself fighting with each other, and that what was asking was that one part was asking the other part to commit to it.
To commit to the fighting.
No, to commit, like the one part was asking, please commit to me. The one part that, was like, and then suddenly it settled down.
Ah, okay.
So it's fighting with this other part, but it's saying, please just commit to this part of me.
It wanted you to hear that it wants you to commit to it.
Yeah. And it
Oh.
just, and it was like, oh, okay, I'll do that.
Uh-huh. Oh.
And then it kind of went, okay.
Ah.
Like couples therapy.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
They wanted you to hear it.
Yeah. And commit to it. There was something about committing to it.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
just like couples therapy, Lynn. That's very funny.
Yeah. Great, great. Thank you. Would somebody else like to share something? Or have a question? Eugene?
A part came up for me that said, I just want you to sort of similar, be with and comfort me through whatever might be difficult. So in a way it's similar, right?
Mhm.
But it was be with and be there to comfort me when
Mhm.
things get too much, right?
Mhm. And how was it when you heard it?
Yes, it felt very nice. Yes,
Yeah.
that's what's needed.
Mhm. Mhm.
Life is what it is, but what do you need to do to make it easier or better, right?
Mhm. Yeah. Great. Thank you. So again, it liked it when you heard it.
Yes.
Gave space for it. Okay. Great. So I'm just going to read a couple of quotes that jumped out at me as I was putting this together. So the first one is Albert Einstein. I must be willing to give up what I am in order to become what I may be.
Mm.
And when I read that, I don't read so much that I need to change, but just to have the willingness to be so open, which, and I've been doing this a long time, and I'm hearing this at another level, even as I read this out right now, of that part that can grab on so much to some aspect of life or living, and that might even be painful and not so pleasant and not so gratifying, but it's what's comfortable. So I love this quote. I must be willing to give up what I am in order to become what I may be.
Mm.
So I have quotes for different aspects of focusing that to me feel really important. Maybe I'll backtrack a little bit. Depending on who you learn focusing with, because there are so many focusing teachers out, and some people might say, oh, what is the essence of focusing? It's the felt sense, or it's this, or it's that, or it's whatever. To me, it's always been what I call the how of focusing, not the what. which is how we are with what's there. So the felt sense is that's what we're finding someplace inside. We're spending time with it. Having sat with a lot of people, probably not nearly as many as Lynn, but a lot of people, what I notice is that people can know focusing, and yet there's often, we bring to focusing the same thing that we bring to life. So if we have a harsh inner critic, we bring that to our focusing. We bring whatever's there. And since I'm one that actually started doing focusing because yeah, I should backtrack. I had an initial session in focusing when I was doing a workshop at, what's the name of that place? Big Sur, California, Esalen Institute on the coast of California on a rainy November in 1993. It's a 5-minute exercise, and I still remember what came for me in that 5-minute exercise. But what is relevant now is that I spoke with the trainer at lunch after that experience. She said to me, this thing is called focusing, and I think it would be really good for you because you have a harsh inner critic the same way I did before I did focusing. That's the first time anybody ever said to me I had a harsh inner critic. I had no idea. I still have an inner critic. It was this big and now it's much more this big. But that when I say the how of focusing is, can we really make space? Can we welcome whatever comes? So the scared place, the angry place, the effing pissed off place, can we make space for it? Can we have the attitude that it must have a really good reason to be there? Can we at least attempt to say, and I might not know what that is, because we all have done so much inner work that we might think we know what it is. Oh, it's because this happened and this happened and this happened. Can we allow there to be the humility to allow this space or this place to show up and share in its own way what's going on for it that's making it be this way in this moment? Because it could be tomorrow or last week, it will share something different. So to really have that spaciousness. So here's my how of focusing is to be able to be open and allowing, to make space, clearly to have empathy. The quote that I chose is Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. So French speakers could probably do that better than I can. It is only with the heart that one can see rightly. What is essential is invisible to the eye. Here's a quote from Jean. If we become skilled at giving ourselves empathy, we often experience in just a few seconds a natural release of energy, which then enables us to be present with the other person. So another thing that feels essential to me is allowing ourselves to be vulnerable, which in today's world, especially where I live, it's really antithetical to how we live. I won't say anything. I don't think I need to say anything more than that. I find that, well, focusing, of course, can work even if we have our walls up, and it works so much better when we can allow ourselves to be vulnerable. I like Anais Nin's quote, and the day came that the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom. Okay. So I'm noticing the time. I think we're okay. So any other comments at this point? Something that's resonating, something that's not resonating? Something you might like to hear more about?
Hi, Ruth. If you know about, I'm in one of those little squares.
Hi, Pauline.
Hiya. Yeah, I think I was really surprised what came for me in the asking, and when you asked me to share, I was surprised again around my knowing that this was recorded and that it was not only people that I could see now, and it was contained. Most of us have our cameras on, but that was the first time that I kind of had any reaction to something going out. And then with or someone seen me that I didn't know who might have access to me. So I did that was sharing about what came. And the other thing now is wondering about the difference between privacy and vulnerability. It's a real wondering. My well, whether it's an ability or willingness, or what's the difference, and also who am I being vulnerable with, I think I'm asking the bigger question, politically, when you say, well, that's all I need to say about being in Jerusalem, it's my deepening understanding of like, who am I in relationship with, and that is my responsibility to make it safe.
Right. Right.
Right.
And just make sure that I'm hearing you is this looking at vulnerability on the one hand, and to allow ourselves to be vulnerable, and the idea of privacy,
Yes.
which is a very different thing. And but we're also talking about me with me, or me with a focusing partner, and then being more public, where, for example, this is recorded and might go up on a website, and who knows who can see it, and will they see your name attached to it, and is that something that to always ask ourselves, is that something that I'm willing to possibly be shared with a bigger audience?
Yes,
Like-
yeah. I mean, it's unfolding. I feel very different saying this. I don't know if the word is confident. I don't know, because there's an essence there, but it still feels safe. Or I'm trusting the me that doesn't, I'm trusting myself, not minding being seen, saying this, but then it's coming into the real. Well, I don't know if it's any realer than this, what is real, which me is real, and, so that, and it's, yeah, I just like that. I just like knowing that, that there's a difference. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to reflect what I hear, and I'm also going to invite others, because
Sure.
I'm sure others are hearing. We all hear differently. We all hear different aspects.
Mm.
And I like to think of each person when a sharing is, there's a diamond there, and the light shines on different facets for different people, so can give things back.
Yeah.
And to me, it's all real. It's all real. And we also need to take care of ourselves, and what feels okay when it's maybe the two of us in a space without all the other little squares, or if it's just you in your home, or you with a partner, you with a family, close friend, versus the different things. And to me, it's not a conflict because of what I'm willing to say to one person. I might not feel okay. It might not be safe to say to another, or there might be something in me that says, no, that's not okay. Often for me, it has nothing to do with whether I know the person or not. I just get this, the end, and I get this sense of trusting and respecting that. What gets me with the little squares, I have no problem with the little squares, is that all of a sudden you hop. So you're over there. Anyway, did I get the gist of what you wanted to communicate?
I suppose what's really in me, it's kind of, it doesn't matter because it's not a focusing session. And, you know, it's like that really just putting it out there and really kind of knowing that there's whatever, 24 other squares, you know, and kind of wanting to hear from that for the energy of it, you know, so that it's, yeah, so I suppose that's, it's gentle and easy, easier with that, you know. So that's what's alive in me just right now.
Okay.
So
We
thanks.
want to hear from other people about vulnerability and privacy and what those words mean to other people.
Yeah, I suppose I do. Yeah, it's kind of like just easier and livelier, you know, that it's, yeah, it's the energy of that, you know. So
Yeah.
thanks, Lynn and Ruth and everyone. Yeah.
What came to me is that vulnerability is opening to something that's a little risky, some edge. And it could be with myself or it could be with other people. But it's that art of the little risk, not over risking so that you feel like it's you know, a train going wild or something, and not keeping everything in order inside, but just that little risk. But I'd be curious about what it means for other people. What about vulnerability when you're just focusing with yourself?
So, hi. Thank you for saying that, Lynn and Pauline and Ruth. And what came to me was, after you spoke, Pauline, was just, it was so resonating with all your words, because after your guidance, Ruth, what came to me was so personal, so personal, so intimate and so vulnerable that I said, wow, a lot came, but is it something that I would like to share here? Because also thinking about the people who then listen to this, is this going to be helpful? Is this going to be enriching? Because it's so personal, it's so private, it's so, and so this is, and when you began talking about vulnerability, and then I thought, well, but then it's like something we all share, isn't it? Our vulnerability, and sometimes I remember that phrase, I think it was from Rogers, that when we share what is most personal, it's the most universal. And then something very, very interesting happened also, because both when June you spoke, you shared, and Steph, it was like there was a lot of many of those things coming to me, like different parts and some child parts, and they came, and it's not that usual that they come, but it was surprising that it was more or less in the same flow. So something about, I don't know, it's something about also this relational felt sense. I don't know, but it's interesting. So that's what I wanted to share. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I love that idea of the relational felt sense and vulnerability.
Mhm. Yeah, I feel like you put words to something I'm experiencing in my core right now. There's a very warm feeling as one person after another is sharing. It's a sense of warmth and connectedness, and a lot, something opening up here. It's very beautiful. Relational felt sense, is that what?
Like that.
It's beautiful. Thinking if it would be okay, maybe we'll go into, I'll share the prompt and we'll go into the breakout rooms a little early, and then we'll come out a little, and then we'll have a little more time after the breakout rooms.
That sounds good.
So,
Do you want to go to the breakout room, Ruth?
not yet, not yet. I'm gonna do, I want to read a poem and then share the prompt. Of course. Oh, thanks, Liz. I don't know who you are. Maybe you could wave, but thank you for being here. And sorry that you have to leave. Okay, so I'd like to read a Rumi poem, and then I'm going to give a prompt that is, it's just something that you might want to focus on in the breakout rooms. And of course, if you want to focus on something else or do something else in the breakout room, it's totally up to you. It's just a suggestion. All right, so I'd like to invite everybody to listen from a focusing space. So you can notice what that means to you. To me, I'm a very visual person, so it helps me to close my eyes sometimes, or to be walking in motion somehow, so that I'm not sitting and staring at a screen is not so conducive for me to come inside. But so whatever you would like to do, if you'd like to close your eyes, maybe take a deep breath. Okay. And those who need to leave before the breakout room, you can still listen to the poem and the prompt, and then maybe just sign off before Christine creates the breakout rooms. Okay, so this is Rumi. When I say to you, you are lovely, you do not believe me because of the blemishes you know so intimately. But those blemishes are the scars of your sufferings, and they shine out of your soul, radiating beauty the way the daisies do in the long summer grasses. So when I say to you, even with closed eyes, I still see how beautiful you are. It is true. Believe it. Believe it. Just want to say that last bit again. So when I say to you, even with closed eyes, I still see how beautiful you are. It is true. Believe it. Believe it. So the suggested prompt is, this is carrying on from the focusing you did earlier. Just notice how it would be to ask inside, what is it? What is it for you in this moment that brings a sense of vitality, passion, excitement? You can use whichever word resonates for you. Some of us resonate with vitality, some with passion. For me, it's a sense of flow. So what is it that brings that quality for you in your life? And then to maybe answer that, but to look at what is it about this that brings that? What is it that this activity or relationship or whatever gives to me, to my heart, to my soul, to my being? to allow yourself some space to just play with this. And to notice what comes inside. For some people, asking that question might bring something more like a block or a stop sign. For some, it might bring something, this delicious something. And just know that whatever comes is okay. That's what's needing attention in this moment. Okay, so Christine, could you go ahead, please, and put people in breakout rooms?
And what time would you like us to come back?
I think you said the usual is about 20 minutes.
Yeah,
So
come back at
we'll
9.
just add just whatever 20 minutes is.
Uh-huh. Good.
Great.
Okay, and would you like to go into a room, Ruth?
Sure, I'm happy to go into a room. Thanks.
Okay, we'll see you soon. 9:25. Welcome back, everybody.
I love the way people are smiling always when they come back from the breakout room.
Yes, I know, isn't it wonderful? It's very heartwarming.
Mm.
Where have you been? What have you seen?
Yeah.
We have been in that little room where we can just even unfold more, be
Mm,
more, maybe even vulnerable.
mm.
It's, yeah, and that makes me even more relaxed. Yeah.
We can be more vulnerable and open more. Do you have anything that you want to share from there, Sophie? From the little room?
We talked, we shared the moments, of where we were, and some about vulnerability and also doodling, which which is planting a seed for me. It's like, I'm gonna say, maybe please interrupt me anytime, Pauline. Pauline was in my little room. But doodling as a way to, for me, drawing or painting or doodling is a way to listen in a larger way, like my larger consciousness can be there as I'm listening to someone, even though I may not be looking at you, I may not be seemingly maybe less listening, but actually it's a larger presence that's here, that's allow me some freedom to be with my own whole self as I am listening to you. And often that's richer. We're talking about that process and how is this a next step to be in community here, to share with creativity, with play, to go that step further of this kind of listening and what kind of implicit would come from that. So it's like some seeds planted that actually Pauline generated. And was just lovely. Pauline, you may want to say more.
Yeah, Thanks, Sophie. And yeah, and it is, there's something wonderful about being in a room, you know, together. I mean, we know it's virtual. We know it's not real. You know, you're there and I'm there, and yet there's the meeting of minds. And it was, when I sort of excused myself from Sophie saying, I'm doodling. I just, you know, I'm not giving you my own good full attention. And are you okay with that? Then she said she was an expressive art therapist. And I got really excited about that possibility of, well, she might like to, you know, give us all you know, and then we talked about France. And in my imagination, already there was a gang of us going to France for the doodling and the wine and the crack. But it was more than that. It was like that implicit in the safety was that something more might come as a next stage for building community, you know, peer led, you know, that it's not therapy, but we're facilitating each other. And it just felt like a wonderful world, you know, so thanks, Sophie.
A wonderful world.
Ruth, I'm wondering if you would put in the chat that wonderful poem you read from Rumi.
Oh, yes.
I had not heard that before, but it really resonated with me. It's beautiful. Is that possible, Ruth? I don't know. I don't want to put too much on you.
No problem. I'm looking for it right now.
Yeah, that and the Gendlin quote, another beautiful addition.
Yeah, I'll do it right now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Which was the Gendlin quote?
The one about empathy?
Is that the one that was on the Zoom link?
I don't
know. It's a different one on the Zoom link. I didn't read that one today.
Oh, okay.
If we become skilled, and I don't know where, I didn't write down where it's from. If we become skilled at giving ourselves empathy.
Oh, yes.
That one.
Yeah, that's a beautiful one. I'd love that too.
Okay, they're both there now.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, you're muted.
I'd love to hear more at some time, not right now, but about this peer group that Pauline and Natty are talking about, or Sophie was talking about. I'll come to France and doodle. So would somebody else like to share?
We spoke of aging in our group. And I found your lead-in especially helpful today. But in the being in the moment of today, regardless of all of the different elements of aging that we're each dealing with, and for me, I tried to take a different turn from when I was focusing. I get a blood test every month to tell me whether or not some cancer is growing or not. So I kind of live for the month. And it just occurred to me that as I was focusing with you, that I maybe should open that up some to not just month to month. Although that's a little bit frightening because I could be disappointed. So anyway, that was something new that came up, and that turned into the conversation that the three of us had regarding aging and all of the different elements of that and the decisions that we have to make. And And I'm trying to recall your name. Ro spoke of the excitement of aging and all of what can come with that, because it's a different time in life and we can see things differently and see ourselves differently and be with ourselves differently, that I found positive and useful too. Then we talked about smiling through the difficulties that aging can bring and moving forward with
Mhm.
living.
Mhm. It sounds
Hmm.
like having the opportunity to share amongst yourselves was really helpful. Mm. Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Nancy.
And I'm just aware of how the idea of the breakout rooms is a private place. It's not put on YouTube. And so
Right.
it's a place where we can be more vulnerable. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I want to remind people that if there's anything that you said in the large meeting that you don't want, we can edit it right out. You just email us. So you can take a risk to say something, and then if you decide you don't want that on the channel, just tell us.
That's great to know. I had the experience in the focusing because I participated in it, that the group, the whole group, as it does, everything affects everything in focusing, and the quality of the focusing and the sharing were different because it's in the context or in not even knowing about it, but because we're together, the group was still there, even though it wasn't in my immediate knowing somehow. It just felt there was a holding of the small group, the two of us,
That's right. Yes.
which
It's
was really nice.
relational felt sense.
And I also noticed that question that I asked, the prompt about what brings vitality and flow, when I ask that to myself, which I do, it brings a felt sense. And when I use that as a prompt in the breakout room, the scared part came in, the limiting part. So I had an opportunity to be with that place that shows up a lot in my life, but it just showed up in a way that felt like I could sit with it in a way that I'm not so much able to in my day-to-day life. So that was very helpful for me.
I have a wandering idea that I want to put out, maybe just because of what's happening today. I'm wondering how would it be in this community to start or breakout room or small room earlier, like I have something inspirational or focusing something, and then go in breakout room, and then come back to the larger group and have more time to share. And maybe have another time for breakout room again, but to have the intimacy and the safety of the breakout room first, and the getting closer might bring something to the larger group that is not there at the beginning. Because I have noticed that often after the breakout room, like you said, Lynn, we come back with more smiles and I think with more presence and more, I come back with more groundedness too.
Yeah.
And here-ness. So yeah, just an idea that's coming to me just in this moment. Wonder what other things about that.
That's beautiful, Sophie. And I wonder if you would lead us in an experiment with that.
Lynn,
I could tell you what Monday are open and we could try it.
I know. I was just telling Pauline that I was really appreciating this moment of having no expectation on me until my next art show in April, and really enjoying this space where because it asks a certain vigilance of thinking of being when I know that I have something in the works. So
Yes.
I don't know. I have to think about it.
What comes to mind, Sophie, when you just said this, is that when you were talking about doodling, I thought, what about mental doodling?
Yes.
I think I do quite a lot of that. I would like to know more about how it can be more helpful, because it's not.
You said, what about what kind of doodling?
Mental.
Mental doodling.
Mental doodling. Ah, cool.
And to just take a riff on what you just said, Marga, for me, a breakout room is when I'm sleeping. and I'm dreaming. And I only got up this morning about 10 minutes before I got on into class with all of you. And you know, I was in a breakout room for about 8 hours, you know, and it was what happened there that I was trying to figure out about how I was now bringing it in with all of you, you know, so that whole experience, and it reminded me of the C.S. Lewis book on The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, you know, and that little room that you find in the woods, and how you know, just kind of get mesmerized by going into it, and everything changes when you're there. So yeah, I mean, I'm game for what you just said, Sophie, in terms of doing more of it, because it's like, yeah, it's happening all the time, and we can also see ourselves as, you know, needing to go there.
I just want to note that we have just 2 more minutes.
Yeah.
So that's one thing, but I want to also say, I really like Sophie's suggestion, and I know that for different speakers, they have different needs in terms of how the time is used. But I'm remembering something that was done by Pat and Melinda, and I don't remember the name of the third person, but I think it was on the subject of fear. I don't remember what it was, but it was a wonderful hour and a half where we had 3 breakout times. And it really had a different quality to it. I think the first one was only a minute long or 2 minutes each or something. They were very short, but it was very powerful time for each person to have a turn. And then they were a little bit longer. And the end result was feeling really as though something was accomplished by each person in there and also by the group together. So I just wanted to say that. And I also wanted to say that something that's been coming for me is I've been teaching on my own for over, probably 35, 40 years, because before focusing, I was teaching yoga, I've been teaching massage, I taught acupressure, all kinds of things. I love to teach. I've always done it on my own, and I'm wanting to do some more collaborative things. So if it turns out, Sophie, that you would like to do this, I could possibly be available, and then you're not doing it all by yourself. And I really understand that because of the amount of worry that I put into this before doing this time. But I think now that I've done it once, it might be less. anyway, or to anybody that would like to do something, and if I might not be the partner, or maybe there's somebody else that would be a good partner to do it with, you don't have to do it by yourself. And
That's lovely. Yes. I think we should have our closing poem. What do
yeah.
you think, Ruth?
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Well,
Please.
Okay. Yes, I was very happy to hear Ruth suggest this poem by Mary Oliver. Mary Oliver, like Ruth, like myself, loved to take walks in the woods and walks anywhere that connect with nature. But I'm sure you're familiar with this poem, Wild Geese. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clear, clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things.
I love that poem. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Ruth.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Ruth.
Thank you.